How to stop your dog from pulling on the leash. So when you teach a dog not to pull on the leash, as you start walking with your dog on a leash and you want to use a leash that's a little longer, 6 or 10 feet, to give the dog the opportunity to pass you and go ahead of you and want to pull. And just before they reach the end of the leash, you take a little step back and you get ready for it. And as they reach the end, you give them a tug and immediately change direction. It puts a stop to the dog moving forward and it causes the dog to look around and then see you walk into another direction, and now they're following you. And more likely than not, they're going to shoot past you again to do it again. Rinse and repeat. You do the same thing and change direction again. So after you do this a few times, the dog realizes that they have to pay attention to you, or they're constantly getting set up, running in the wrong direction. Running into a direction where you are not. But you are attached to a leash, so they have to come with you. And so they start paying attention to your legs. They start paying attention to proximity to you so that doesn't happen. And while this little tug is not anything detrimental, it's uncomfortable. So the dog's like, okay, I don't want this. And so they start looking for you and they start constantly checking in with you and start walking with you. And that is how you achieve loose leash walking. The dog is no longer shooting forward to pull and drag you down the road. The dog is now like, okay, where is he? Okay, let me stay close so that doesn't happen. So when you get ready to give that little tug when they're going forward, you want to ensure that you tug before they tighten the leash, before they run into the collar and start pulling. And the reason for that, you cannot tug when the leash is tight. It's just not working. You need a little slack so that you can tug. That is one. Two, when a dog feels pressure on the collarbone, they naturally lean into it. They counter pull. So they feel a pull backwards and they counter it. And that is actually, if you walk a dog like this, and we see that every day with especially smaller dogs, where people hold the leash and the dog is pulling on the leash and they try to guide the dog on a tight leash. What that causes is that it teaches your dog to pull. You are actively teaching your dog to pull without knowing it. Okay, and it's only getting worse and worse and worse, and then the dog starts choking while walking because the dog thinks that's what you want. The dog thinks it's doing a great job while you're getting frustrated on the other end of the leash, but it's not the dog's fault. You have to show the dog, no, I don't want you to pull. So when they go ahead and you give them a tug, that is how you show them, no, you don't get to do this. You go where I go and you turn around. So the dog constantly has to follow you instead of being ahead of you. So today we want to demonstrate some loose leash walking and how you get there. I have my little wild dog here. So we're just gonna give her some length and just casually start walking. And you see she will cross, she will walk past me. And when she goes to the end of the leash, and you give her a tug and change direction. And you do this a few times. And what will happen, see how she checks in? She will look at you to make sure that when you change direction that she's close by, so that she doesn't get set up with the tug. So now she's on the wrong side. You can see the leash is more than loose, not actually holding it, just resting it on 2 fingers to show you that after a couple of corrections, your dog will very quickly understand that they have to stick around with you. They can't just shoot off. Now, due to her age, she has done this a few times, granted, but it does not take away from the fact that this is how you can teach very quickly. And of course, every time you tug and turn and change direction and the dog stops, comes out, turns around and comes with you, you then have to reward the dog. Have some food ready in your hands as you tug and you turn and the dog checks in with you. Good girl, good boy. You teach your dog not only what not to do, but also reward the right behavior that you want. So that the dog is very clear, oh, he doesn't want me to do this, but if I do this, I get a reward. So that it's very clear to the dog what you want. That you want him to walk by your side loosely on a leash. Good. That's a good girl. So when she walks with you properly, you reward her. But for the time she's doing the right thing and she checks in with you, you have about 1.5 seconds to reward her. You want to mark it with saying yes or okay. Give her the food right there. If you take too long to reward, then she will not connect it with what you want to reward. Giving the dog a marker command like yes marks the exact spot that you want to reward, and it buys you some time to produce the treat and give it to her. But if you wait too long, then the dog feels rewarded for what she was doing at that point in time.